Were you getting an agent or anything, or was the group getting an agent? Or
the group was
manager?
getting interest from reps, but then I got an agent through a friend, and then started submitting packets that following year for shows.
Oh wow! Your friend just recommended you.
Yeah, and then the agent was
loved
like,
you.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Yeah, it worked out.
So were you being solicited for these packets, or were you just reaching out?
The agent was like, "Hey, Seth Meyers is starting a
that's
show. Daily Show's taking packets, yada yada, that kind of stuff."
And did you know how to write a packet, or did you?
No, I just looked it up. Pretty much everything I've learned is just you just Google it, and people are like, here's how you do it.
YouTube University.
Yeah.
Did you get any? Did anything come of any of those packets?
The closest I got was the Daily Show. I got pretty far, and man, I would have loved to have written for that show. It was that was in winter of 2013, right before I started at Kimmel. I got to the last step in their process for a writer, and they went with a guy who's, I forget his name, but he's I looked him up. He's like the funniest. Man, they definitely made the right call.
He was more attractive than you.
He was better looking. He had a better schlong. His family was better and more attractive.
So you got the balcony seat.
Yeah, they put me up top, and so I definitely agree with them.
So you got some traction,
but I got a little bit. But then the biggest traction I got was from Kimmel.
How did Kimmel come about?
So that was
because you're in New York.
I'm in New York. We were putting out these videos. Some of them were doing well, some not, obviously, but we were just doing it pretty consistently, and I was having some of them were going viral, and we had this residency with YouTube, and
that's great,
where we got to use their studio, so we were able to crank out a lot of material, and with some other companies and stuff, and I did some sketches with MTV. There's a lot of random one-off
things, yeah.
But
collectively, it's pretty impressive.
Collectively, there was I don't know if it was impressive, but there was a lot of it.
Sure.
And so Jimmy saw a video, and out of the blue one day, just got in touch on Twitter. He said, "I saw your videos. I think you're talented." And that was it. And
he loves Twitter. Every Kimmel person I've had on here, I think he reached through. On Twitter.
That was Bridger, too.
Bridger, Jack Allison. I think Jeff might have been
Jeff
Twitter,
was through YouTube.
Oh, YouTube.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
I love Jimmy because he will really search for people online.
He's got his finger on the pulse.
He loves it, yeah. And so
what video did he see?
I still don't know. He never said which video he saw. I think it was this mashup one. It wasn't even a sketch, but he said videos in his first message, so I think he was clicking around a couple different ones. I never asked what it was, but then we were just joking back and forth, and he was like, "What's your email?" And then it's let's set up a time to meet. And so I went out to LA 5 months later he was getting married that summer. So
sure.
And I went out to meet him, and we kind of hit it off. No, I was out there for meetings and stuff.
Oh, your agent had got you writing meetings, or?
Yeah, I was I was meeting with managers and some casting directors and stuff like that. And then
it really all came together there at the
Things happened pretty fast in 2013 once Garlic started doing well.
Yeah.
And I started I just really shotgun blast everything. I was submitting for a lot. I was doing articles and satirical news and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So some of them were percolating a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we met, and he's from Seattle, or he lived in Seattle, and he was from Brooklyn where I was living. So we had some stuff to talk about, and he's just such a nice guy. And, we just talked for a while, and then for a while nothing happened just because there wasn't a job. And then one of their directors was leaving a couple months later, and they were like, "Hey, are you interested in trying out for this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it was right. It was a great timing because it was right after I didn't get that Daily Show job, and then I didn't get a Bill Maher writing job.
Oh,
and
wow.
Then they called and they're like, "Do you want to do this?"
That's perfect.
Yeah, and the timing was real good.
Were you eyeing LA at the time? Were you
No, I was
thinking LA?
in New York.
You weren't even thinking about LA? You mentioned the meetings you had out here.
No, I wasn't even thinking. I told myself I wouldn't move because I saw a lot of people in New York. Everyone in New York was like, "Hey, I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to go to LA." But people go too early, I think. And I told myself I wouldn't go until I was well, you've got this cool podcast, and I think
stop.
I think now it's different. Oh, okay.
I wasn't in New York though. I was in Minnesota. Nothing's going to happen.
That's a total different thing. But people who are doing well in New York will just go to LA with no prospects and then just think it will continue. But all their people and connections, everything are in New York, so they just kind of throw it all away.
Sure.
So I told myself,
I had Thomas Middleditch on here, and he talked about that. He was talking about how it's you got to get something bubbling and make it a perfect move. You don't want to just rush it.
Yeah, exactly. People rush it and they assume it will just be the same people, and it's not. It's like you get completely lost different. Out here. Yeah. And so everyone I knew, I had such a good life situation in New York. I was living with my 5 best friends in this huge 6-person apartment in Brooklyn. Awesome. I had this group with a bunch of people. I was in a couple other groups. I was with all the people I went to college with. It was very nice. I had a girlfriend. It was a very good life situation in New York. And then I knew 0 people in LA.
Yeah.
And so I was very nervous about leaving. So I told myself I wouldn't go to LA unless I got flew out. And
sure.
So this was it. But I was on a trial period for 2 weeks.
Oh, geez. That's really short leave.
Yeah. And they put me up in a hotel for those at the Lowe's Hotel. And then after 2 weeks on the Friday, I was like, hey, should I go back? Like, am I coming back on Monday? Because I kept my lease going in New York because I thought at any second they would just be like, thank you for coming, but you suck. You're a child. Why are you doing this? You're wasting our time. But they were like, yeah, you're coming back for another week. And they would extend the hotel reservation for a week. And then that Friday, I'd be like, hey, am I coming back next week? And they'd be like, 1 second, let's check. And then they'd be like, we've extended your hotel for one more week.
What? How
and
long
then
did
that went
happen?
on for 4 months.
What?
I was
Your girlfriend must have hated you back home.
We broke up.
Oh, no.
But she did hate me. But
now she does, but different reasons.
But it was for 4 months I was on like a trial period essentially, where every
stressful.
week
there's
or
your fidgetiness you need.
So I got very antsy and insecure from that. From just like being on a trial period for that long, it like fucks with your head.
Yeah.
Just being like every day, like, am I like everything anyone said to me, like any people who like grips would say like, oh, Zach, like have a good weekend. I'd be like, oh God, he knows I'm getting fired. Like I just would assume everything meant something or else.
You were like a reality show contestant.
Yeah, I really
like
thought I was
American Idol person. Every week you're like, oh God, I want to stay a little longer.
It really felt like that, and especially because they were paying my place, and I didn't know if I should like should I get a car. I was just taking Ubers everywhere. I didn't have friends. Sure. I didn't want to like start like making friends if I was gonna leave. I don't know, that's a dumb thing, but I don't like want to put down roots or anything until I know if I'm staying or not, because I still wanted to go back to New York. But then eventually they're like, Zach, just like get a place, you're staying.
Oh, funny. That's great.
And then I just passed 2 years last week.
That's fantastic. And you're a segment director, which of course means you do sort of remotes and stuff.
Yeah, remotes, pre-tapes. I do a lot. I do almost all of our like sponsored content, our branded ones. So we have sketches that they're sketches, but it will be like Stone Pale Ales in it. And I do a lot of those, and then it's fun.
So what's your day-to-day like for
it's
a segment director?
It's completely different every day. So it's every day you're either in pre-production, production, or post-production for a bit.
Okay.
So I'm always prepping for a bit, shooting a bit, and editing last week's bit.
Yeah, because he does so many of these.
He does it. Well, there's 4 field directors. I'm the most junior one of the 4, so I get the worst bits. There's 4 of us, and everyone on the show has been there for like 40 years. Like no one leaves that show ever. It's like we've had PAs who've been there for like 10 years.
Yeah, like
it's
Ray
great.
Romano's kid.
Yeah. Well, I don't want
Kimmel
to call him out, but
I did.
He's so nice.
So your day to day, it's all over the board.
It's all over the board.
It's different, it's fresh.
But it's weirdly consistent, like in terms of like the bits are always different, but it's always the same clock in, clock out time.
Yeah.
Unless you have like a late night bit, which is rare.
Sure.
Sometimes we do weekend bits or travel bits that are weird, but really for the most part, for a TV job, it's the most consistent you could get. It's a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Like it's a 9 to 5 for 10 months a year with it, which is like unheard of in TV.
Right.
Like I have friends who work on like Boardwalk Empire. They're like, we do 16-hour days for like 3 months, and then we don't work for like 9 months, and then we do like it's just like binge and purge.
There's your ritual. Kimmel's your ritual.
Yeah, it's very consistent. So like these past 2, I can't believe it's been 2 years because the amount of volatility in my life went from 100% to 0%. Because I was in New York, I would literally do a job for 2 days, 3 days, a day and a half, a day, a day, no work for 3 weeks, and then a day, 2 jobs in a day. And then it went from you're doing one thing. So my life right now, more than anything, is just consistent, which
Sure.
is weird. I've never had that before. I've
That's
never done
great,
any.
though.
I've never lived in a place for longer than 6 months at a time.
Oh wow,
And I've been in the same apartment now for 2 years.
that's
so
amazing.
Yeah.